Hey guys, Dave here, and welcome back to another ad-free episode of FFBE War of the Visions. In my last episode, I covered all of the armor and accessories up through the current Final Fantasy XIV event, and today I will cover all of the new weapons up until through the event, with an addition of 2 weapons that are currently in the game, but a lot of people haven't gone after yet, or just haven't had enough materials to obtain them. So I'll go through, what units are going to benefit most from these items. What the recommended version is, where some of the versions might be useful, and some other general strategies and other comments in there as well. Now keep in mind, I try to keep it as objective as possible, but my opinion is going to be there in there too. So I encourage you, as always, to just use this as a guideline and make the decisions based on what's best for your current unit makeup, your vision cards, and your playstyle. Because, we play the game to have fun, so don't do something just because someone else recommends it. Do whatever is going to be best for you. So without further ado, let's jump in and look at our first weapon. They're in just random order. I'll try to do it as close to the launch order as possible, but there's going to be some things that are off. So let's take a look. Okay, so I'm going to start with the 2 items that are already in the game that a lot of people don't have yet, or just haven't gone after. The one a lot of people just haven't gone after is the Icebrand. I talked to a couple people, and one person's like, oh, after I get all the materials, then I'll start buying the recipes. Okay. And another person, I'm just going to wait for an event. Well, guess what? The event hasn't come out yet on JP, and it might never. So I know it's a big investment at about 70, 80 million gil, but the recipes don't pop up in the shop that often. As you see, I have the new Freyva unit, and I did get her to our max limit break, and I started buying this in the shop. So it's been a week and a half. I've looked at every shop, and most of the days since I was going after Freyva and Rain, I did the 10 and sometimes even the 50 refresh, so an extra 1 or 2 refreshes a day, and I still have only gotten 2 recipes in a week and a half. So even if you're going after it every day, there's so many MRs that can possibly pop up in those slots that it's going to be really hard to obtain it. So if you have Gilgamesh or you have Freyva, this right now is going to be the best in slot. Now, one of the other Leongurin, one of the swords coming up, that's also going to be really good for Freyva and Gilgamesh. Better than the current Nagnarok, but this with the extra 30 on it, even though you're dropping down some in magic and or attack, the 30 raw percent, just the point it's calculated for weapons, is going to be more powerful overall, and it's also going to bypass more defense and whatnot. So this is going to be best in the slot for those. So if you have either of those units, I really encourage you to start leveling this up. Or collecting the recipes and leveling it up, because you get the 15 slash and 30 ice attack. That's 45% more damage. Now, both the crit and the assault versions are pretty decent. If you have Gilgamesh, depending on what attacks you're using, some are magic and physical base, some are magic base, some are physical base, and I believe most, if not all of them, are slash. So find out how you want to use your Gilgamesh and then plan on which one you want. For Freyva, it's obvious you're going to go crit because you want as much magic as possible. All of hers are magic based, and even though you're losing like 100 magic off of the other item, the 30 ice more than makes up for that damage wise. Alright, next item that's already in the game is the Sage Staff. This is obtainable through the Arena shop. The reason I'm putting this in here is, a lot of people haven't saved up enough tokens or used them on something else and haven't gotten it yet, or just don't have the materials to make it. First and foremost, I'm going to say that someone made either a +1, I think it might have even been a +2 on JP, because they did nothing but Arena. They got the free one in the event, and a +2 version of this still does less damage than a +5 Platinum Staff. So don't get a +0 magic and expect it to do more. It's going to be best in slot for healers and healers only until it gets probably to about +4, where it's going to then finally be more effective than the platinum staff. And I figured, it's going to take, anywhere from like 5 to 10 years of doing arena at the current rate to get a +5. So by the time they do that, they'll be super TMRs or something else better in the game. But it is best in slot for healers. So if you are going after this and you don't get trolled twice in a row like me with aim, and you actually get the good magic version, then it's definitely worth going after. But I just wanted to caution you, don't think, oh, I'm going to get the sage staff, so I don't need a +5 platinum staff. That's wrong. The platinum staff, it is more damage. This is mainly at a +0, +1, +2, +3 level. It's going to be more of a healing staff, where you're not going for that magical attack, basically. You're just going for the raw stat. But just wanted to mention that. Alright, so everybody who's going after Venera, you're definitely going to want this item, the Mage Masher. It's currently in the game, but we haven't had a weapon farming event for it. So it should come out with her. I'd be very surprised if it does not. So if you look at assault, crit, and aim, all three of them are viable depending on what you're going after. I've seen a lot of people in JP go after the assault just for the raw damage. But if you're making a crit build, crit damage is if you crit every time, you're gonna be doing more damage, even though assault is a higher number. But then there's situations where, okay, well, if I'm not gonna hit them, I'm gonna be doing 0 damage. So maybe take 56 point hit there and get 19 accuracy and still be able to hit them. So all three versions are decent. All three are viable. It just depends on what situation you're going to be using it in. But if you are going for Venera or any other dagger units, there's not really many right now. They're all below UR. I think she's the only one who can use daggers currently. But you definitely want to get this weapon if you're going for her. Okay, so recently Orlando is slowly getting weaker and weaker, or actually there's just more counters to him. Well, guess what? He's gonna make a comeback with this sword. So get ready to be trolled part 2. There's a weapon farming event, and it might be on the shop. Don't quote me on that. I haven't checked religiously on JP to see if it's there, but it definitely will be there limited time. If you have Orlando, this is basically made for him, so you definitely want to pick this up. JP YouTuber did a verification video on this, and it was doing anywhere from 10 to 25% more damage depending on what attack it was, but most of them 20-25% more than the +5 Ragnarok that he had previously equipped. So you definitely want to get it. Assault is probably the better one, since the crit's kind of weak, but you do get the accuracy and the crit there, so both of them are decent and both of them are worth mentioning. And Orlando does pretty decently with crit right now, so the crit version, not too bad. But just there's the thought of having it below 99 or below 100 is just yeah. But yeah, 15 plus 30 lightning, that's huge for him. So if you have Orlando, this is a must-have. All right, another item that's been in the game pretty much from the start, but hasn't had a farming event yet. This becomes actually viable when Irudia comes out, the mathematician, and she's at the second half of the Final Fantasy Tactics, second half of the second Tactics banner, if it follows JP, right? Okay, so basically there's only one reason to have this mace, and it's just trying to be a staff, but it's not. So I don't even know why there's a tack on there for this unit. Units like Mashari can use the attack as well, but the unit herself is kind of a joke. So you'd only really be getting this for Irudia, and you definitely want the magic on there. I have Irudia at 99. I have her trust on JP. She is super powerful, but I only have it at +3, and I only have it at like 86 magic. So it's only at like, 40% of its maximum potential. So even with that, she's hitting super hard, and I don't even have that great of espers and stuff like that either. So very strong unit. So if you're going for the mathematician Irudia, this is an absolute must-have. And it's, like I said, the second half of the tactics event is when it should come out. All right, so this is the sword with the really long name. I don't know why it's that long, but it's a mouthful in Japanese too. This comes from floor 5 of the Deep Dungeon. They made Deep Dungeon considerably easier than the tower because people complained, getting up to 20 on something that difficult with that little notice was kind of sneaky, I guess, in a way. So they did that. Now this one, it's got 8 slash, and then at 5 stars you get an 8 ice attack. So it's like an attempt at, I don't know, making something between a +5 and the Ragnarok or something like that. But basically, it's, other than the accuracy, it's not much stronger than the Ragnarok. But the fact that you get the accuracy on there, it's nice. I was even using it on my Monty because I don't have Agurias. But if you have Gilgamesh, or you're going for Agurias, the ice tank on the second tactics banner, this is a great sword to have. Even if you're not going for them, it's still a good sword to have in your repertoire. Definitely worth getting. But apparently you have to do 2.5 full runs, maybe even 3 full runs on the Deep Dungeon in order to get enough of the items. So if they're going to charge Vizier for that again, you might want to start running your Ice Chocobo missions to try to build those up so you can make the item without having to pay Vizier or without having to do it multiple times. Alright, so there was an Ifrit raid, and then I believe directly after that, or was it before? I can't remember. There was a challenge event with Ifrit, and it was pretty darn easy. Well, at least I had the mathematician, so I just put it on auto and like stupidly easy. But this sword right here, it's basically a duplicate of the Golden Blade, except instead of 15 slash damage, you have slash resistance, and I just put 15 slash there, so that's kind of vague. But it's slash resistance. So do you want to do 15% more damage, or do you want to take 15% less damage? Now, being that the number 1 unit that uses this would be Stern, or as some people call them, the Super Stern, which is spend twice as much and not be twice as good Stern. I think it's better to be able to be survivable. As you've seen, what happens a lot in Arena, Stern will run in. He's very fast. He'll get in range of the other people, buff, turn ends, or he'll do shuriken and not one-shot him or something. The other enemy comes in, one-shots him over. So if you can survive one attack and be able to attack back, especially with Stern, since both versions of him are hard hitters, in most situations, that's going to be the better way to go. But there are going to be some situations where, glass cannon, all-out offense is going to be good as well. But having the option to use whichever one you want when you want is going to benefit you in the long run. All right, with the Glacilia banner also came Rodeira, and also with that came the Rune Bow farming event. Now this is currently in the game on global as well. However, there's no farming event, so it's not efficient. It's not worth spending all that money when you can just wait another month or so. Now it is 15 missile. It has less damage than the Ras Algathi equivalent, but you don't get the minus agility. However, on this, as you can see across the board, we're looking at much higher accuracy numbers. So I believe all 3 of these are decent, so I put all 3 up. Now, depending on the situation, you might want to change around. So if you went with like AIM or something like that and stacked it with the Alexandrite Ring, or the upcoming Vision card from Final Fantasy Tactics that's free and whatnot, you could possibly get almost a guaranteed hit even without using Sharpshoot with almost every attack. So depending on how you're going to use this, I think it's going to be very beneficial. Also, the bikini version of Lilith that came out on JP was limited time, so I don't know if we're going to even get that on global, because a bikini summer unit in winter doesn't really make much sense, but we'll see. Hopefully it won't be limited time and it will come, but she's also Ranger main job. So those are the 2 main units that would be able to use this, and hopefully there's a lot more in the future. And I believe there's 1 or 2 MR and SR units that can use it as well. So if you have King Caesar or whoever, they would make good use of this in addition. Alright, so Purple Lightning, this was basically made for Laswell. Is the only unit in the game who currently benefits from the ice on that, but it's still a good sword for the other samurais as well. 20 slash since it's UR, but it's going to be harder to obtain because it's the raid. Now, it came with the Behemoth raid. Behemoth was mostly weak against Glacialia. I believe it was, what, Slash and Pierce or something like that? I forget exactly, but she was the best unit for the Behemoth. And the bonus unit, the Tonberry, the best unit was Laswell. So, I mean, there's not as many Tonberries, but if you're strategic with how you do it in multiplayer, you could possibly get a lot without getting the Glacialia unit. But that's all going to be up to you guys, what unit you're pulling for. But I'm really thinking of pulling for Laswell because, as you know, I like Dragoon units, and I want to try to build an all-Dragoon team. And Laswell's got a very powerful PvP ability, Bunshin, where he basically absorbs one attack or evades it, whatever you want to say. And that's very powerful. And then the fact that he can jump up and maybe dodge another one, great as well. Got a great limit burst, and he can get up to 100 armor penetration if you stack different abilities. So a good unit, but basically made for Laswell. So if you're not going for Laswell, or you don't care about him at all, even in the future, you might not want to go after this, because this is it's a katana. I put two-hand sword, but it's like a two-hand katana sword, and only really the samurai class can use that. So if you're not interested in that, you might just want to go after one of the previous raid items, or just get like crafting material for future ones or past ones. But really good weapon nonetheless. Probably the first UR class weapon that we've seen, in fact. Alright, now this sword came out with Howlett, the current, I think the banner's still up on JP. He's like a wind, kind of like a green mage unit, but they just gave it a new job name, but pretty much the same thing. He kind of sacrifices a little bit of health, and I believe he can penetrate spirit or penetrate magic attack defense. But either way, hits like a truck, supposedly. I haven't seen any videos where he's 99 yet with full gear. But nevertheless a very strong unit. However, even if you're not going after him, the sword here is really good. So you get 15 slash plus the magic. So units like Freyeva and whatnot are going to benefit greatly from this. Basically your red mage units, your spellblade units and whatnot. But the thing is, those units, sometimes it's a magic based attack, sometimes it's a physical based attack. Sometimes it's magic damage, sometimes it's slash damage. So depending on the situation, you're going to need a different weapon. Miranda, for example, a lot of hers, I believe, pull from the magic stat, but they're not slash abilities. So for those, this sword probably wouldn't be the best. Adelard's Trust with the 15 magic attack was probably the best if you want to do the most damage on a Miranda unit. But before you spend all the time going on this sword, if you have Remza, Miranda, Freyeva, any of those units, just do the research, go on the WOTV calculator site or whatever, see what the attack type is, see if it pulls the stat from magic or physical or both, like Gilgamesh in some cases, and then decide whether you need it or not. But it's good nonetheless, and it's definitely better than the Nagnarok for some of those units. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Thanks if you've made it to the end. If you haven't, still thanks anyway. And again, I'd like to extend an invitation to the Discord server, just for information exchange, if you want to run multiplayer together. But the main purpose would be, for upcoming raids and whatnot, to coordinate raid rooms and to get the most out of those. Because if you watch my videos, or if you've just done the research yourself, you'll know that some of the best items in the game, the UR versions, they come from the raid events. And the raids are the most time consuming. You need the best gear out of all the events. You need the most coordination. And in order to get all that efficiently, it's best to make friends, build up a group ahead of time. So I'm throwing that invitation out there. If you guys are interested, check out the Discord link in the comments below. If not, then that's cool too. or if you just want to come by and chat, that's fine as well. Again, I thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on another episode of FFBE War of the Visions. Take care.